Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim.
In addition to offensive operations, the defensive operations of the armed forces are also continuing. These shootdowns have brought the total number of enemy drones down by our country's armed forces to more than 75. Iran's drone killer weapons are now actively hunting in the skies, putting America's MQ-9 Reaper and Israel's Hermes 900 drones in Tehran's crosshairs. Each US MQ-9 Reaper costs tens of millions of dollars. Yet Iran is increasingly using far cheaper interception systems to knock them out of the sky or force them down. By fielding radar-less, autonomous drone hunters, Iran is trying to tilt the cost and technology balance in its favor in the UAV war. As 3 US MQ-9 Reaper drones have reportedly been lost since the conflict began, questions are mounting over whether Iran's stealthy drone hunter systems. Reports now say 3 American MQ-9 Reaper drones have been down since the Israel-US versus Iran showdown began, suggesting a mounting toll on high-value US assets. One drone is said to have crashed off Iran's coast, while another was reportedly brought down by Qatari defenses in a friendly fire incident amid the chaos. According to US media, it remains unclear exactly where each unmanned aerial vehicle went down and who or what systems were responsible for the shootdowns. These details were first reported on March 5 by American outlet CBS News, citing unnamed US officials, pointing to quiet concern in Washington. Officials say the exact circumstances of the losses are still under active investigation, with no final conclusions publicly confirmed. This revelation emerged just as Iran was loudly claiming to have downed multiple hostile drones, giving fresh weight to Tehran's boasts. Iranian officials say that since February 28, they have neutralized at least 75 US and Israeli unmanned platforms, from large drones to smaller UAVs. On March 4, the IRGC reportedly captured an Israeli Hermes 900 drone intact, providing Iran with a major intelligence and propaganda victory. Iranian state TV aired footage of the seized aircraft, showcasing the large UAV sitting on the ground under Iranian control. Local media claimed Iranian air defenses had intercepted the Israeli aircraft amid heavy fighting, underscoring Tehran's narrative of growing air defense prowess. Iranian defense officials have publicly described using a new autonomous drone interceptor, designed to stalk and engage enemy drones with minimal human input. They say these interceptors can neutralize enemy drones without switching on telltale radars, making it far harder for US and Israeli crews to spot an incoming threat. Missile 358, the AD-08 Majid system, and ground-launched versions of older air-to-air missiles now form the backbone of Iran's evolving anti-drone arsenal. Missile 358 is a jet-powered patrol interceptor built to loiter in the air and hunt drones proactively, rather than simply reacting to radar tracks from the ground. It can autonomously patrol airspace without constantly relying on ground radar beams or a continuous command link, making it harder to detect and disrupt. The missile cruises at roughly Mach 0.6, giving it enough speed and endurance to patrol wide corridors while still maneuvering against medium-altitude drones. With a maximum operating radius of about 100 kilometers from its launch point, it can set up forward kill zones well ahead of key Iranian facilities. Its engagement envelope is tailored to the typical operating altitude of Hermes 900 and MQ-9 Reaper drones, matching the heights at which they usually spy. An interception ceiling around 8.5 kilometers puts most strategic surveillance drones squarely inside its threat range. On board, the system carries internal sensors and AI algorithms to detect heat, signatures, and emissions, identifying drones without external guidance. Once it locks onto a target, the interceptor switches to a terminal guidance mode, homing in silently for the final kill. By doing so without ground radar illumination, it removes the usual electronic warning cues that would alert UAV operators to an incoming missile. At the same time, an optional radio correction link lets ground crews send brief route updates when needed, especially in jammed or complex airspace. AD-08 Majid is a short-range air defense system optimized for low-flying aircraft and drones, mounted on a mobile launcher. It is built on a small mobile platform designed to avoid reliance on classic radar emissions and instead stay hidden. Majid relies primarily on passive electro-optical sensors to spot and track targets visually and thermally. Thermal imaging cameras sit on a compact chassis, sweeping the skies for the heat signatures of drones and incoming weapons. This design allows the system to remain largely undetected by enemy aircraft and drones until it fires. Majid uses optical tracking sensors to keep a precise lock, even without radar guidance. Its missiles are infrared-guided, homing in on the heat emitted by engines and electronics. The interceptors can reportedly reach speeds of up to Mach 2, hitting targets in as little as about 15 seconds and sharply cutting reaction time. With a maximum engagement range of roughly 8 kilometers, Majid is especially dangerous to medium-altitude surveillance platforms operating nearby. Iran has also adapted older R-73 and R-270 air-to-air missiles for ground-based anti-drone roles, repurposing legacy stocks. The R-73 infrared-guided missile has a very wide off-bore sight lock angle, letting it engage maneuvering targets more easily. It is known for exceptional maneuverability in the final intercept phase, ideal for snapping onto agile drones. These traits make it suitable for chasing down slower-moving but nimble drones in tight-turning fights. Because it uses infrared guidance, the R-73 can autonomously home in on a UAV's heat signature once locked. The larger R-270 version extends interception range thanks to its bigger rocket motor, giving ground crews more reach. One of the most important features of these systems is the high mobility of their launch platforms, making them hard to track and target. A missile 358 battery can rapidly relocate after firing, reducing the chance of being hit in a follow-up strike. Majid launch vehicles can hide in natural terrain and quickly move between firing positions to stay ahead of enemy intelligence. This shoot-and-scoot style greatly complicates any counterbattery or airstrike attempts by US or Israeli forces. Another major advantage is cost. Each interception attempt is far cheaper than the high-value drones being targeted. A single MQ-9 Reaper can cost around $30 million, while Iran's interceptors are believed to represent only a fraction of that price. By contrast, US interceptors like THAAD and Patriot cost millions of dollars per shot, making defense extremely expensive. Each THAAD missile is priced at well over $12 million, with only a limited number manufactured annually. Patriot interceptors are also expensive, at roughly $5 million per missile, with only a few hundred produced per year. Estimates suggest around 500 Patriot missiles were built in 2024, with production expected to rise to about 650 annually by 2027. Iran has additionally claimed the destruction of $1 billion and FPS-132 early warning radar in Qatar, showing it can hit big-ticket assets. Tehran says it has also knocked out the radar portion of a THAAD battery in the UAE and Jordan, striking at the eyes of US missile defense. Most recently, Iran claimed to have shot down a US F-15E inside its airspace, a claim that US Central Command has officially denied. Both US officials and IRGC spokespeople continue to release competing updates on these operations, each trying to shape the narrative of who is really winning the drone war. In the past 24 hours, the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran have carried out multiple offensive and defensive operations. The Air Force and Navy of the Islamic Republic of Iran's army, by launching strike drones toward the occupied territories, targeted the Ramat David Air Base and the Marone radar site in the occupied lands. They also attacked the positions of American terrorists in Camp Udari in Kuwait with assault drones belonging to the Army Navy. The Army ground forces, continuing their operations against American terrorists based in Iraqi Kurdistan, struck their headquarters in Erbil with their drones. The IRGC Aerospace Force, with the code phrase O Hassan ibn Ali, peace be upon him, fired Khorramshahr ballistic missiles equipped with heavy warheads toward Ben Gurion Airport. The IRGC ground forces, as part of the 19th wave of operations, also launched strike drones at positions of American terrorist forces in the Kurdistan region and Iraq. The 20th wave of the True Promise 4 operations was likewise carried out in the name and memory of the oppressed martyrs of the Navy destroyer Damavand of the Islamic Republic of Iran's army, with the code phrase O Humiliator of the Believer's Enemies, using diverse, combined and extensive measures by the armed forces against American and Zionist targets. The news and details of this wave will be announced subsequently. The aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, which had approached to within 340 kilometers of Iran's territorial waters in the Sea of Oman with the aim of controlling the Strait of Hormuz, was targeted by drones of the IRGC Navy and, together with its destroyers, left the area and has so far moved more than 1,000 kilometers away from the region. In addition to offensive operations, the defensive operations of the armed forces are also continuing. These shootdowns have brought the total number of enemy drones down by our country's armed forces to more than 75. Also, in various parts of the country, a number of cruise missiles launched by American terrorists, including Tomahawk and JASSM series missiles, have been shot down by the air defense fire of the armed forces. In total, and including the 20th wave of the True Promise 4 operations, More than 2,000 drones and more than 600 missiles have been launched against American positions in the region and Zionist targets in the occupied territories, and further attacks against the enemies of our country are still continuing. The continuous sound of sirens and the prolonged confinement of residents of the occupied territories in shelters over the past 24 hours reflect the sustained, controlled rhythm of Iranian projectile launches for a hard retaliation against the terrorist criminals. The cowardly military forces and the facilities of the Zionist regime have hidden themselves among civilian and public layers, but the detection and striking of the aggressors continues, and in the coming days the attacks will become more severe and more extensive.
The Admiral knows we have clear objectives with maximum authorities on the battlefield. The dumb, politically correct wars of the past were the opposite of what we're doing here. They had vague objectives with restrictive, minimalist rules of engagement. No more. Our authorities, his authorities, CENTCOM's authorities through the president and myself are maxed out. Our capabilities are overwhelming and gathering still, as are those of our Israeli partners. Our munitions are full up, and our will is ironclad, which means our timeline is ours and ours alone to control. As long as it takes to ensure the United States of America achieves these objectives. And as we flow more forces, and as we flow more capabilities, and as our munitions, as we're flying over the top, have even more devastating effects, we set the tempo, we set the timeline, led by the commander on the ground.
Ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one. Drone attacks have decreased by 83% since day one. Having said this, we remain vigilant. Our strikes against the Iranian Navy have intensified. You may have heard the president say just a little while ago that we have sunk or destroyed 24 ships. That was true at the moment. We're now up over 30 ships. And in just the last few hours, we hit an Iranian drone carrier ship, roughly the size of a World War II aircraft carrier. And as we speak, it's on fire. The president gave us another task, to raise or level Iran's ballistic missile industrial base. So we're not just hitting what they have, we're destroying their ability to rebuild. And so as we transition to the next phase of this operation, we will systemically dismantle Iran's missile production capability for the future, and that's absolutely in progress.
Well, there's no expansion. Ultimately, I think the president's having a heck of a say in who runs Iran, given the ongoing operation we have. So there's no expansion in our objectives. We know exactly what we're trying to achieve.
I'd also just double down on the president's comments that he previously made to the people: stay in your homes, keep things calm, stay out of the way. There's a lot of U.S. and Israeli capacity coming over. We're hitting a lot of targets. The best thing for them to do for right now is just to lay low.
Well, as the president stated, it was unfortunate that that the Brits didn't, from day one, say, "Hey, go ahead and have access," but we got there. We got there, and that's now part of the way that we're operationalizing bomber runs. And as part of when we say more to come, it's more fighter squadrons, it's more capabilities, it's more defensive capabilities, and it's more bomber pulses more frequently. The amount of firepower over Iran and over Tehran is about to surge dramatically. And part of it is that we're going to have even more basing. And it's not just the UK. We've had other friends step up. And we're grateful for that. I think Kristi Noem did an excellent job over there, securing our border and keeping us focused on threats. And President making a change. We all serve at the pleasure of the president. I'm sure Mark Wayne Mullen will do a fantastic job. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. But Kristi did a great job setting us up for success. So I don't have any concerns about whether or not the homeland will be covered down on.